When a global cabal of ruthless sex traffickers appears in the neighborhood, they soon realize they've made a fatal mistake. Tonight, justice is served cold.
Oh, Splat!
And Sesame Street will never be the same.
Please!
1.
No!
2.
Please stop!
3.
But first, questionable material with Jack and Brian. No, please. Or just Jack. You're listening to Questionable Material, produced in New York by Jack Helmuth and Brian Sack. QMpodcast.com. Yeah.
No, it's just time to start the podcast. I don't need an attitude about it.
You know, I had stuff going on and then suddenly my thing's ringing and it's like, I got to drop everything and podcast.
Oh, wow. What stuff did you have going on?
I was editing a thing.
Oh, you were editing a thing.
Yeah.
What were you editing?
A newspaper.
You were editing a newspaper.
Yeah, I started a newspaper, Jack. You got a problem with that? You have a problem with people distributing information?
I don't have a problem with it at all. That's fantastic. It's odd that I'm just hearing about this now, almost as if you were making it up. What's the name of your newspaper?
The Informational Times.
Wow, that it really rolls off your brain there.
You know, I didn't want to geographically pin it like New York Times or Washington Post. I didn't want to be an idiot like that because that's what dummies do.
Okay.
So I wanted it to be an informational newspaper. And so I assumed the Informational Times was a good name.
That's interesting. What sort of content were you editing just now?
An op-ed.
Oh, cool. What's the op-ed about?
Well, if we should kill people who dishonor the flag in the name of liberty.
And what was the opinion in the piece? I assume you wrote it.
Yeah, it just says yes. I don't have a lot of space for the op-ed pages. It's mostly advertising.
Right.
Because I got to fund this.
Advertising.
Yeah, I got to fund this thing. It's very expensive to run a newspaper. I had to buy those the rolling things and all that newsprint. And the things
costly.
That make the newsprint, that put the colors on the newsprint, everything, all that stuff, the technical stuff. It's really hard. You have to hire people to run the press, because if I say stop the presses, I need someone to be there to actually do it.
Right.
Because I can't do it. I don't know what to do. There's so many buttons.
So how big is your staff right now?
Right. Me and a Bucky.
You and Bucky.
Yeah.
He's the stop the presses guy.
Yeah. He's pretty much,
Bucky.
He was apprehended by local authorities and held in minimal security.
That's how you were able to get him?
Yeah. I mean, I literally just opened up the window. I was like, dude, you want a job? He's like, yeah, get me out of here. And so I pushed the window open.
Did you read about his apprehension in the Informational Times?
No, but it's going to be the cover story about our new fugitive employee.
There's a fugitive on loose in your community.
Yeah, but he's our fugitive. And that's kind of the way the story bounces.
So sort of a human interest story to get people, that's one way to sell papers.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you plan on, it seems like you're potentially going around sort of creating news to report on. Is that the plan? Yeah, well, because, there's not a lot of news going on these days. So you've got to kind of make the story, as we say in the journalism business. Mm-hmm. You got to make the story. So, I do. Yeah. If there's like, a brick might go through the hardware store window. Sure. And then I'm there like 2 minutes later, like, oh, what's going on here? I'm a reporter for the Informational Times. First on the scene. Always first on the scene. Yeah. Wow. There was a parking lot. What other sort of stories are you planning on, or let's say cooking up to report on? Well, there's somebody called the Parking Lot Bandit.
And what he's doing, it's crazy. He's going around, he's just smashing people's taillights.
Gosh.
And then, and then running away, not leaving a note.
And we know that it's a he?
I mean, I'm assuming because only men do stuff like that.
Right.
So I've been on the scene, at all the smashings, and I'll just show up and be like, hey, I'm a reporter for the Informational Times. I heard that there was a parking lot bandit incident.
Wow.
Yeah.
And pretty amazing that you would hear of that before police even arrived on the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might want to be careful with that.
Yeah, you're right.
What other sort of crimes might be coming to your community? What other sort of stories are you have some long lead times on?
Well, there's the conscientious arsonist so what happens is families get a phone call telling them that one of their beloved family members is injured in the road down the street.
Okay. And
then they all get out of the house and they run down the street. And that's when the Molotov cocktails arrive.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so that way there's no injuries, but the arsonist gets his arson and I get my story.
Well, it's true. I mean, I hope you haven't done this because I do want to remind you that sometimes people are napping their babies, pets, and the infirm. Who many of these categories of people or creatures live in your community. Yeah, no,
I know. There was an infirm one and I managed to get her out. I arrived on the scene to get the story, to get the scoop, as we say in the business. And I heard screams and I was like, crap, I thought the whole family was supposed to be down the street. And then so I ran into the house and fortunately the Molotov cocktails I had, that had been located in the house were not obstructing the stairs. So I could run up and get the old lady and let her know that I'm a hero. And that's actually going to be the cover story about my heroism.
What's the headline going to read?
The hero we needed for 2020.
Wow, that's really interesting. What sort of advertising do you get?
Right now, it's just ads for the Informational Times.
Oh, okay. Because you said, much of the space of your newspaper is filled with advertising. So I would assume it's not just for your own newspaper that people have already, I assume, purchased.
Well, there's a Squeaky's Laundromat has a 2-page spread.
Oh, 2-page spread.
Yeah. Just, get your laundry done.
Okay.
And I gave him 2 pages because I thought that was an important message. Plus, I didn't want to write a lot that week. That's a good thing about advertising is it takes up writing space. So if you're not in that writing mood, if you haven't been bitten by the writing bug, as we say in the writing trades, then the ads really fill up and it's great. It takes up all that space.
Wow, that's great. Just last question about this newspaper. How do you distribute it?
Carefully. Because you never know if people are armed. I mean, when you're outside of the city, you're just never sure if somebody has a weapon.
Totally.
And so when your policy is to deliver the paper and leave it on the kitchen table, you just have to be extra careful because, somebody could mistake you for having bad motives, for being in their kitchen at 3 a.m. for a bad reason.
Of course.
And I don't want to lose any more paper boys.
Wait a minute. So you also have paper boys. It's not you breaking into people's kitchens.
No, God, no. I'm not going to risk my life.
So you send paper boys in to break into people's homes.
Yeah.
And carefully lay out the paper on their kitchen table?
Yes. I wouldn't say break in. I would say enter without consent. But, it's part of the allure of the Informational Times is that it's a surprise newspaper. You come downstairs in the morning and, there's a newspaper on my table. And it's not the failing New York Times or the silly Washington Post or the absurd Boston Globe or the lackadaisical Philadelphia Inquirer. It's just Informational Times.
Well, what's your nickname for the Seattle Sun Times?
The Looney Tunes Seattle Sun Times.
What about the Albuquerque News?
The cod-swalloping Albuquerque News.
The Boise Gazette?
The Ninnyhammer Boise Gazette.
The Atlanta Tribune?
The Phoenix going into the flames Atlanta Tribune.
I think that newspaper is going to rise up and destroy you.
I don't know about that.
Well, we'll see. That's a good cliffhanger for the end of this segment.
You're a good cliffhanger.
We need to talk about Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
I love her.
I know you do. And I know you were at her bedside when she passed.
Yep.
How was that process?
She said, it was very kind of somber. The family was gathered there and I was there. And she said, I just want to live until 2021, until after the election.
Yeah.
And I said, overruled, Your Honor. That's kind of like I wanted to see if I could activate her brain, get her.
Right. Get a laugh out of her.
Get a laugh out of her or something. Because that's what I'm there for, is to entertain. That's why they brought me there. And instead, she, I guess, took that as a cue.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Family was understandably upset with me. I tried to explain that it was all in jest, but they were having none of it.
How do you enter the hospital or hospice room of Ruth Bader Ginsburg? What's your big entrance?
Well, I came in as a Supreme Court justice.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I walked in and I said, hey, how's it going, everybody? My name's Barney Gibbons. I'm the newest Supreme Court justice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked at Justice Ginsburg and I said, whoa, wait a second. How come they gave me this job already?
Did that land the laugh you were hoping for?
No, she didn't laugh. I don't know. I believe she was probably in some pain or maybe medication. Maybe she couldn't hear me. But I just, I kind of stood there and waited for the laugh, for the tell, and didn't get it.
No kidding.
Yep.
Well, I mean, this is the side of Ruth Bader Ginsburg maybe that we don't hear about, the sort of the uptight, sort of afraid to laugh, classic liberal, anti-comedy nonsense. Yeah,
probably. I mean, not knowing her well, I'm going to have to assume that's the case. I've heard stories that she was a very pleasant lady, but clearly she doesn't get my comedy. And therefore, she's less than human to me.
I remember hearing that you sort of reset your act, you sort of did like a hard reset, as they say in the entertaining dead Supreme Court justices game, where you try to sexy it up, where you sort of like try to sort of re-enter as like, what's under these robes type of guys. What happened there? How did that go?
Well, I came in and I had my robes on, and then the robes fell off, and I kind of, clasped my hands over my private parts. Mm-hmm. And I said, ooh, has anybody seen my gavel? And then I kind of did this wink. No laughs.
No laugh.
No. It was a tough crowd. It was one of the hardest shows I've ever put on. And
so you were there in the room.
Yep.
When Justice Ginsburg made her final wish that she would not be replaced until a new president in 2021 was elected, whether it's Joe Biden or the re-election of Donald Trump. But you have said that she had some interesting other final wishes, that her second to last wish was something that not a lot of people would expect. I was wondering if you could tell us about her second to last wish.
Her second to last wish was she wanted Krispy Kreme to sell strip steak. Isn't that weird?
That is so weird.
Yeah. Like a donut place is just, they do donuts well.
Yeah.
They've got the donut game covered.
Yeah.
And then her second to last dying wish was, I want Krispy Kreme to serve New York strips.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Any idea what that's about?
No, I think she liked diversity of food at donut shops. I don't know. It's, she didn't elaborate. People were kind of looking at one another like maybe she's seeing things or something, or maybe did we mishear that? But she restated it a few times.
Very strange. It really makes my heart sad. Well, and you said she had a really interesting third to last wish.
Yeah, her third to last wish was that Hanson reunite and do a sequel to Bop.
Did she have a suggested title for the new name of the song?
Bop 2. And I kept saying, are you sure? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. So we commissioned Bop 2, but TOO. See, I didn't understand. She meant number 2.
Oh.
So, but Bop 2, meaning also should be coming out in about 3 months.
Wow, that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's digitally remastered by Dr. Dre.
Good. He's the best in the game for that.
And we samples from Whitney Houston in the background just to add some element of good singing to it.
Sure. You said she had a really weird fourth to last wish. And she said, you have to make this one come true. Of any of my list of final wishes, this is the one that must happen. What was that one again?
Well, she wanted me to go to a yard sale and find a toy, an old toy from the 80s called Benji the Random Cat. And so Benji the Random Cat was an old toy. You probably remember the commercials where it's a cat and then you pull its tail and it says yes, no, or maybe.
Oh.
And she wanted that to replace her in the Supreme Court, and that all Benji's responses be considered, legitimate answers. Mm-hmm. So, they'd have the 8 other justices would make their decisions for or against, and then they'd pull Benji the Random Cat, and it would say yes. And that, of course, is a vote in favor, and then no would be a vote against, dissent, as they call it in the Supreme Court business.
Right.
And then maybe would be kind of like, oh boy, what are we going to do now?
Wow. So we're repealing Roe v. Wade. It's 4-4 maybe.
Right.
Well, that's a real constitutional crisis.
That's exactly what she wanted. She wanted chaos. She said, as she was passing, that I want absolute chaos for all eternity.
Well, because it's a lifetime appointment, and it being a toy and can't pass away, that could be on the Supreme Court for the rest of the existence of the court itself.
As long as we have batteries, we have Benji the Random Cat on the Supreme Court.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you see her? Thank you for sharing those wishes. Did you see her final moment? Did you see her pass?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
How was that? Was it peaceful?
It was. It was peaceful until she kind of, her breathing started slowing, and then she opened her eyes, and I was sitting there in front of her, and she kind of looked at me and cocked her head, and she said, "What the?" And then her breath kind of left her body, and then she was gone.
Gosh.
And I turned to her family and I said, "That's a wrap, people." See, you're laughing. They did not laugh. They were furious.
Well, I get your sense of humor. Fans of the show get your sense of humor. These people,
they don't get it. They're not listeners.
They see an ad in the Informational Times about like a comedian who's ready to perform at hospices, and they're like, okay, we'll give this a try. They don't necessarily know your sense of humor. Yeah.
They didn't appreciate what they got, Yeah. It's disturbing to me. It's upsetting.
It is upsetting. So that was probably her last vision on Earth and last thought on Earth was, oh my God, who is this person in my room?
Yeah. And I had put on my famous toothbrush mustache. And just, as a joke.
Yeah.
Because I always like for people to think that they're seeing Hitler right before they pass. That's a thing I like.
It would be a thing you'd like.
You get that quizzical, like their eyes just kind of go, what? Like, what's going on here?
And when you do that, are you still holding the sickle?
Yeah.
Weird. And her family was cool with that when you sort of re-entered the room as they're sort of lightly weeping and, saying bye to mom and stuff.
Well, that's the cool thing is like they were busy, grieving. And so looking, nobody's looking around when they're grieving. They were kind of blowing their noses and teared up and looking down. So they didn't really notice me coming in my regalia.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, did they at least, I know her reaction. Did they, once they sort of took in your look, did they at least say, oh, that's a good last one?
No. Sorry to say that they were humorless till the end.
Wow.
Not a giggle to be found in that room. They got on the horn. They called security. I bolted out. The Supreme Court justices already have Secret Service outside.
Right.
So,
But you were able to slip them?
Yeah. They were confused because the Hitler they know didn't have silver hair.
Right.
And was shorter probably.
Probably.
But and I tried to do the Parkinson's thing, but I wasn't sure what I was doing, so I was just kind of waving all my limbs around.
Yeah, and you can't trust that people know that sort of obscure detail that historians have sort of figured out later in later years.
Yeah, and as I ran down the hallway, I said, I have one testicle and I'm addicted to amphetamines.
Great character work.
Yep.
Wow, really great.
Thank you.
Were you going to be a part of the funeral of the final services?
I made a pitch for it.
Okay.
I did, to the family, I did say, may I come to the burying?
Mm-hmm.
And they just looked at me and they said, I can't even repeat what they said. It was language unbecoming a dignified person.
That's right. Wow.
But it meant no.
But is it true that Clarence Thomas has asked you to be his +1 and so that you're going to be able to go anyway?
Yep. So
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm going as Clarence Thomas.
Wait, Clarence Thomas has asked you to go?
Yeah, he's a bridge player, and the funeral conflicts with his bridge game, and he's like he doesn't want to look bad, but he doesn't want to go. So so I'm going in his place.
Oh my gosh, how's that going to work? How are you going to go as Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas?
Well, I'm going to take a page out of the Prime Minister of Canada's book.
Okay. And speak with a funny accent, I hope is what you're going to say.
Well, that's definitely part of it.
So, hey, Brian.
Yeah, shoulda, coulda, woulda, Jack.
Fair enough. So I don't know if you saw this. You're a New Yorker. We are New Yorkers. There was a story in the paper yesterday that the MTA, which is the Metropolitan Transit Authority, which runs the subways and buses, has decided to formally ban pooping on the subways and buses.
Are you kidding me?
No. So that means that until this law passes, pooping has technically not been illegal on New York City's subways and trains.
Yeah.
So
freedom.
That's
Jack.
a neat thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You would think that would have been something that maybe we could have gotten to, before we started banning, the term illegal immigrant, as our great Mayor de Blasio did back, what was that, 6-9 months ago?
At least.
Yeah. So, so we could get to policing thoughts, but not policing poo-poos.
Yeah, it's interesting what our priorities are.
Yeah, it is interesting. But oh, go ahead.
No, I hate the idea of, getting prosecuted if nature calls and I have no choice but to defecate on a subway platform or onto the tracks or inside one of the cars. What's this world coming to?
I know, man. That's really well said. You lobbied pretty hard against this bill, right?
I'm all about liberty and freedom, and that includes the liberty and freedom to defecate wherever you are. Mm-hmm. If you have nitrogenous waste in your system and you need to evacuate it, I don't want the government stepping in and saying, oh, no, sir, this is a mass transit and a lot of people walking around here. We'd appreciate it if you didn't drop your trousers.
Yep. This is precisely why the "Don't Tread on Me" snake looks like a giant coiled turd.
Yeah. Originally it was a coiled turd. And then Benjamin Franklin Gadsden said that, it should be a snake.
Boy, I'd like to have been in that meeting.
Yeah, because originally the flag was a coiled poop and it said, stop this shit. And then somebody had a better idea. They're like, that's a little offensive. What if we made it a snake and don't step on it? Yeah.
I'm not sure that's a better idea. It's just a different idea.
It is different.
Yeah. Well, very interesting. And so you put a lot of money behind the campaign to keep the freedom to poop anywhere. Yeah,
it was We You Number 2 is Up to You campaign, and it was.
Well, that was you.
Yeah, you remember the jingle?
No, I don't.
It was dun da 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 da. Where you number 2 is up to you. Boop.
Oh yeah.
Remember that? Because we ran it on all the stations and radio and TV.
For years, you must spend a ton of money.
Spent a fortune, like $35 million. Where you number 2 is up to you. It was on the buses. Mm-hmm. We had a fun bus campaign. So on the side of the bus, we wrapped the bus is what we call it in advertising. Mm-hmm. You wrap the entire, and so we made it look like, there were people sitting there going to the bathroom on the pictures. So somebody's head would be looking out the window at the city, but there'd be a picture of a body just going at it underneath on the side of the bus. It was really got a lot of attention.
I bet it did.
Yeah.
I bet it did. Yep. Wow. And that was ballot initiative number
2.
Oh, okay. And you got a lot of you got some celebrities, sort of an interesting mix of celebrities to sort of be a part of this campaign, as generally happens. Who'd you get, and how did that work out?
We had Philip Seymour Hoffman. He was a very famous actor, but he'd do anything for a bag of heroin. And so he signed on pretty early on.
I bet he did.
And then we had Alyssa Milano.
What was the draw for her in that?
Just attention. Mm-hmm. She wanted, until she found the Me Too movement, she was desperate for attention. She was a movement hopper. She's movement hop. She's addicted to movements, and she is a movement hopper. You're right.
Right.
Yeah. Very good. And she latched onto us for a while. She liked the jingle, which we got Mariah Carey to sing, which was great. She's so gifted.
Just incredibly gifted.
Yeah.
And it's a movement about having a movement. So Milano must have been psyched.
Yeah, it was a movement. Yeah, it's a movement within a movement.
And how do you get Mariah Carey on board? I mean, that's a big one.
She is a coprophiliac. And that is someone who is sexually attracted to poo-poo.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that, but we went to a database of coprophiliacs, and her name popped up there, and I said it couldn't possibly be the same Mariah Carey. But I shot her an email, and I said, "Listen, I'm Brian. I'm head of the number 2 campaign, and we've got this great jingle about being able to poop where you want." And she got right back to me.
She had those sort of like those moving dots that show someone's typing before you hit send.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was amazing. And so we arranged a meeting. She came to the city,
and she was early for the meeting. That's how important this is to her.
It's hugely important to her. I showed her around. I showed her some places that were frequented by bums, and then literally, and she was like, "Oh my God, I love this city. I'm so excited to be part of this."
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
And so she sang the whole that whole jingle?
Yeah. Where you number 2 is up to you. And with that beautiful voice.
Yeah.
And then we did a music video, and then she's like walking down the street in the alleyway. Mm-hmm. And then she sees some fans, and then they look at her and "Are you Mariah Carey?" And she goes, "Where you number 2 is up to you." And then she just kind of squats, and it just cuts to the fans looking at her.
When you directed that video, how did you direct the fans to react? Or was it like one of these sort of verite, like, real fans, real reactions?
It was real fans, real reactions.
Oh, that's so cool. How did they react? Were they big supporters of her movement?
They were, surprised to see her, surprised to hear her, surprised to watch her do what she did, surprised that somebody so petite could produce something of such magnitude. I explained to them afterwards that this is her obsession. She's a coprophiliac. I explained what a coprophiliac was. They left.
I bought a Whitney Houston album.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, good on her for really fighting for something she believes in.
Yeah. Yeah. She so believes in it. It's crazy. She's passionate.
Oh, man.
But so, yeah, this is devastating news that they're trying to make it illegal. I don't even know what to think.
God, I hesitated to bring it up. It's why I waited till the end of the show. Do you have any sort of last ditch efforts to sort of try and save things?
Well, I guess, I mean, at this point, the only option is armed rebellion. I mean, if it can work for Antifa and everybody, then I'm certain it can work for the number 2 gang.
Right.
We call ourselves Toozers.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's, maybe it's time to #resist and to, gather people and march and evacuate our bowels where we please in a show of defiance.
Have you thought of creating sort of, a poop autonomous zone, like in the middle of New York City, just, take over
Yes.
2 or 3 blocks, square, maybe a mile of square footage?
We're calling it PLOP.
Wow.
Yeah.
My gosh. What are the details of this revolution?
Well, PLOP is an autonomous region. Anybody's welcome in there. We're all about equity and diversity, and anyone is allowed to evacuate their bowels, defecate, whatever you want to, any fancy words you want to use, anywhere in the PLOP zone. It will be used as a form of currency because the one thing everybody has, regardless of who they are, is nitrogenous waste.
Right.
So if you turn nitrogenous waste,
equalizer.
Exactly. So you turn
it
it
into
fertilizer. Exactly. It fertilizes. It equalizes. It can be used for goods and services. It's legal tender and literally tender, and everybody has it. This is the answer. It's not communism. Wow. It's coprophiliaism.
Man, it's powerful. I think in New York City you might get more allies than you anticipated.
Yeah, I mean, and that's my thing. We're looking for allies. That's the term we all use in the identity business. Allies.
Allies. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, I'll say good luck to you, sir, because you're my friend and I love you.
Yep.
I wholeheartedly do not support this movement. I think it's a filthy thing to do. I'm not with you on it.
Well, you'll see. And, when we form PLOP and you're standing outside asking why you're not going to be allowed in, I think the answer will be quite obvious to you.
Why would I want to go inside PLOP?
For the true freedom. You don't have true freedom if you can't defecate wherever you want.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. We'll see. I mean, I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see your interviews on CNN.
You can be the sheeple and you can, use bathrooms.
Oh, here we go.
Or you can be an independent thinker and go wherever you please. I think it's up to you. And don't wear a mask.
Okay. Hunter Biden is here. Hunter, why don't you come in, sit down, put on those headphones. And Hunter, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jack.
What is life like for Hunter Biden?
Well, it depends. I have a lot of irons in the fire, which is an expression we use. And
who's we that uses it?
My friends from Yale.
We
say irons in the fire.
Oh, that's okay. You think that's a Yale-y thing?
It is. Devin and I use that. And we say irons in the fire or kit and caboodle. We say when we mean like everything.
Right.
It's just a Yale thing. We have funny expressions.
No, I guess so. Tell me what it was like, the admission process to Yale, because Yale, one of the top 3 universities in this country, an absolute fantastic school.
Excellent school.
Ivy League, as good as it gets.
Yes.
Only the best students in the world go to Yale.
What were your grades like? What was the admission process like? I mean, it must have been really hard getting in.
Well, I don't remember my grades exactly.
Oh, okay.
But I do remember, and this was back before the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And so all the colleges were in a big blue book.
Yeah.
You got a big, big, thick blue book that listed all the colleges.
Mm-hmm.
And my father came home one night and he put the book in front of me and he said, pick one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I see this big blue book and it's just very big.
Right.
And it's blue and I have no idea where to start. So I just kind of opened up the back. I flipped it over, kind of Japanese style.
Yeah.
And I opened up the back and I looked down and I saw Yale.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at it and I was like, you know what? 4 letters, easy to remember. It's in Connecticut. It's in the neighborhood. I'm going to go there.
Had you not heard of Yale before?
No.
So you just said to your dad that I'm going to go here. Don't you mean I'm going to just apply to the school?
Or I pointed to it. I said, this one, Papa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what was his response to that?
He nodded knowingly.
Mm-hmm.
And he took out a little Post-it note and he put it on Yale, sticking out of the side of the book. And he closed the big blue book and he left the room.
Do you know where he went after he left the room?
I'm assuming he went to do the application.
Uh-huh. A lot of times the kids do the application. You didn't have a part in that?
No, I didn't. He's all hands on deck kind of person.
Okay. Cool, I guess. And so about how long did it take for you to find out? I mean, it usually takes 4 months to sort of get your acceptance letter. Was that about your experience?
No, I got a phone call 25 minutes after Papa left the room. And, I was there, the phone rang, and then I heard my father in the other room. He's like, Hunter, it's for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I picked up the phone. I was like, hello. And it was the admissions officer from Yale.
No kidding.
Congratulating me for getting in.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so your grades must have been outstanding in school.
Yeah. Well, they graded in Roman numerals. So C is 100.
I understand.
So C, 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 C. Mm-hmm. Those are all hundreds.
So your dad told you at your private school that they just graded in Roman numerals.
They grade in Roman numerals. Yeah, that's what he said. They grade in Roman numerals. And I looked at the C's and I said, what is that, Daddy? And he said, that's 100. C equals 100 in Roman numerals. Oh. So I saw English C, 100. History C, that means 100. Mm-hmm. Math C, that means 100. Science C, that means 100. Mm-hmm. And music C, that means 100. Spanish C, that means yes.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah. It seems like you and your dad have a really good relationship.
Yeah, no, he's great.
Yale's an expensive school. I'm surprised. Even back then, I'm surprised you didn't come out of there with, even back then, maybe $40,000, $50,000 in debt. No, Dad looked at me knowingly and he said, don't you worry about it. Okay. So I guess he just paid for it himself. I think he had a coupon, quite honestly, because I don't recall him paying for it. Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah. It's really good. You know what it is? Coupons. I think a lot of it had to do, Yale needed some favors. Oh. And Papa helped Yale get what they need. So, I mean, like maybe he helped them, maybe as a guest lecturer or something? No, they wanted to clear a neighborhood to build a dormitory. Oh. And so, Papa can make those things happen. He can just make a neighborhood go away? Yeah. It's called eminent domain. Oh, yeah. I've heard of that. That's interesting that a C student would know what that is. Well, the funny thing is I thought it was imminent domain for the longest time. Oh, that's really funny. Oh, you're going to give that to me right away. That's imminent. Uh-huh. But it's eminent. When did you figure that out? Just like 2-3 weeks ago. Okay. Wow. Yeah. I got a book of the one with all the words in it. A dictionary? Yeah. I have one of those. Oh, you have one of those now? And I was flipping through that and I saw eminent. And I'm like, what does that mean? And I'm reading it. And it's like, oh, eminent domain. Oh, now I understand. I've been saying it wrong all these years. Okay. And you made it's like a song lyric, Excuse me while I kiss this guy. Mm-hmm. It's not kiss this guy. Right. It's kiss the sky. I didn't know that. Did you know that? No, I definitely knew that. Huh. It's weird that you would think that. You made it through Yale for 4 years without a dictionary. Right. No, you don't need it. What's it like going to class? Like, what was the class that gave you the most difficulty in school? Well, the class that was the hardest for me was the math one. The math one? Yes. Because the teacher wanted to give me a bad grade. Okay. Because I didn't go. Oh, you didn't go to those classes? No, because it was very difficult. Yeah, who needs that? So I didn't go, and he was going to give me a bad grade. Mm-hmm. But ultimately he settled for giving me 100. Oh, really? What changed his mind? Did you do like extra credit? Did you like make up extra work?
He was hoping to get on tenure.
Okay.
And he had said, I remember, and it was kind of, I don't know if he was hinting, but he said, boy, to get tenure would sure help to have a letter on official stationery from the White House saying, give this guy tenure.
Oh,
and then he just kind of looked at me and he did this knowing wink. And I looked at him and I was like, what does he mean by that? And then I just mentioned it to Papa. And then he said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it.
Okay.
And then sure enough, he got tenure.
Oh.
And I got 100.
Do you think Papa had a tenure coupon?
It's quite possible. He has tons of coupons.
I bet he does. Do you think maybe you get special treatment?
No.
Give me an example of you not getting special treatment.
I don't get special treatment.
Yeah. Okay. About how many businesses are you on the board of?
It's just hard to know because these things just keep falling in my lap for some reason. I think people just sense that I'm good at business. And so they're like, oh, you're good at business. Would you like to be on the board of our company?
That's neat.
We're going to pay you some money. Oh, by the way, can we make a phone call with your dad next week? And I'm like, oh yeah, Papa.
Are you worried about what life is going to be like when Papa's not around?
I hadn't thought about it.
I wish nothing but the best for you. I think you've only had the best ever. And so I wish that to continue for you.
Thank you. It would be hard to get used to not having it, wouldn't it? That was questionable material. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast. Make sure to review the podcast. Make sure to visit qmpodcast.com for episodes, show notes, and bonus material.